Why the hell should anybody listen to your advice? Who are you that you're giving people advice?
That's a great question. I get stopped every day by a young man that tells me that it changed his life. And unlike an athlete or a movie star, I actually had a woman tell me this on the street in LA. She said, you know, the difference between you and other people I see get stopped is that it matters to them. And my favorite thing to say to these young men when they stop me is that me and you are no different. I was you 15 years ago. And I think that's very important. A lot of people online couldn't imagine being the people they look up to. For whatever reason, that person casts himself in a way that makes the people that follow that person feel like it would be impossible. They have too many things that God gave to them. I grew up very poor, South Louisiana, in and out of trailer parks, 11 custody court battles, violence, 2 house fires, no understanding of finance or wealth. And I was able to find the people that I align with, either in books, online, at events, conferences, and build the life that I want. But I am no different from them.
Of all those challenges, impoverished area, trailer parks, custody battles, no one to look up to, which was the biggest challenge?
Finding the consciousness to see outside of what was just directly in front of me.
Okay.
So many people, they have 1 or 2 decisions to make in life if they grow up in that kind of situation. 1, they become it. 2, they decide they're going to be everything but that. Mine was the latter. I chose to use sports to get out of my town because I certainly would have been working in the plants on the Mississippi River right now had I taken the path of everyone else, because that would have been the highest level I could have got in that area, in my opinion. And so I wanted to leave. The only thing I knew at the time, the only consciousness I had at that time was to go play college football, get a college degree, and then maybe, if I worked hard enough, I would get a job in Dallas as a project manager. I'd make 150 grand a year maybe, and live in a house that didn't have wheels on it, which was, in the very beginning, one of my main goals. I'm gonna live in a big house that is brick one day. And I'm gonna have a truck allowance and a 401k because I didn't know any better. It was the only consciousness I had.
That's a good life too.
It is a good life until you get more consciousness. And isn't that the tricky part of the torture? I always say the voice in your head that tortures you is the voice that makes you great. So the more I learn and the more I'm exposed to, the more I'm tortured to push forward and do more things. And to be quite honest with you, my biggest fear in life right now is losing that voice in my head that says, no, you should do more, more, more. No matter what I do, that voice is there. And I think it's the greatest gift you could ever receive. I think that voice comes from some version of your inner consciousness or God that tells you what you should be doing and what you could do and what's possible for you.
There's a big difference between those 2 possibilities. Is the voice coming from you, or is the voice coming from God, who is outside of you?
Oh, I think that depends on who you're asking. Nonetheless, it does. The voice is there, and that's a voice you want to keep. So for me, as much as I would like to act like I've achieved everything and I've developed to the place that I'm ultimately going to be, I know that I'll never be happy with it. I'll never retire. I'll never be done. I'll never be satisfied with anything I do. I bought 56 more doors last week. You know, I still feel like I'm behind, and I have over 400 doors. And when I get to 1,000, I'll be mad because I don't have 5,000. And that's just how we are. You have been shooting content all morning. I've been watching you because I was in the dressing room, the lady putting powder all over me and all these things are going on. I'm like, what is this? It's the first time I've ever worn makeup, Michael.
No, really?
Yeah.
You don't wear makeup when you do your videos and interviews?
No, I learned a lot this morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You could say, I just woke up like this, you know, this is...
I should have took that opportunity. But no, it was the powder, right? And I believe that voice in your head that tortures you is the voice that makes you great. And it's the same thing that told you that you have to shoot double time because you have to make it to the hospital to see your son being born. it's the same voice. Where is it coming from? Where do you believe it's coming from? I think could be up for debate depending on the individual. But I do know this, if that voice is lost, you're in deep trouble. I always say that success is a two-way street, or it's a two-part thing. It's climbing the mountain, and it's looking for other mountains to climb. Because if you get to the top of the mountain that you're climbing and you have nowhere to go, all you can do is self-sabotage yourself down.
Yes, I totally agree with that. And I empathize even with the drive constantly to be working, because I have that too. And I try to temper that to some degree, because I want to make sure I see my wife and kid, I get to the hospital, I want to make sure that I read, I want to make sure that I have a well-rounded life, because I agree, if you become complacent in your pursuits, you're going to die. But then the reason I ask that question, is the voice just yourself or is the voice God? The reason I ask the question of what was the greatest challenge of the half dozen you mentioned to overcome is because then the question for anyone who's pursuing self-help is, what are you aiming at?
Right.
You understand? I mean,
Yeah.
because what you're describing is you grew up in poverty, and you had other conditions that were related to poverty, but weren't necessarily tied to it. The custody battles, the geography of South Louisiana, the not having people in your community who could guide you in your career, whatever. And you say, I've overcome that. Primarily, it would seem in money. You overcame this poverty. You overcame that $150,000 a year ceiling that you thought you'd hit. Now you're making much more money than that. Now you see bigger. So, is it just money?
Absolutely not.
No.
Man, I have the most fulfilling life that anybody could ever ask for. I have one of the best networks, I believe, in the world, with some of the best friends in the world, with the most beautiful family I could ever ask to have, relationships with people I genuinely care about that I get to take care of. Money is just a tool. And I think that's something that's very widely misunderstood about me. Two things that I think are misunderstood about me for the people that don't follow me or don't like me is that they might think I'm materialistic. Bro, I wear Walmart shirts almost every day, black t-shirts. Mm-hmm. Money will never make you happy. Taking care of people you love will make you happy, will make you fulfilled. Getting stopped by a young man, like one of the guys that work for you, he told me backstage, he said, I was going through a very rough time and you helped me out of it. There is nothing in this world that I would trade for that conversation. Money can't buy it. So I don't think it's money. I think it's becoming the vision of yourself that you set out to be. And so for me, I have this relationship, I call it the rocking chair test, where I have this relationship with the older version of me. And I work and answer to that version of myself. So when I'm 90 years old and I can no longer live life, and I'm going through things at 38, am I gonna buy this property? Am I gonna do this deal? Am I gonna invest in this company? I'm scared, what do I do? I simply ask myself, what would he say? What would make him proud of me? Because by the time I get there, I'll look back retrospectively at 38 and be like, that was really not that big a deal. And so my main goal is to make the future version of me proud of who I am right now. And I do that every day. In fact, I keep a folder in my phone of videos where I'm talking to myself so I can go back later and watch myself progress through my life. And it's something I hold very dear to me. It's because ultimately at the end of the day, there's so many people out there that want to make other people happy. I know that if I do everything that I set out to do, not only will I be happy with myself and what I accomplished, I will have taken care of everybody in my life that I care for and love.
But if you do the rocking chair test,
Sure.
If your standard is 90-year-old you, and if you also said you're never going to be happy, you're never going to be satisfied because you're going to want more, and if you have 400 doors, you're going to want 4,000 doors, and if you...
I'll be proud of myself for that.
You'll be proud of yourself for your
That
dissatisfaction,
Yes.
for your lack of happiness.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Don't you find it to be terrifying if I were to tell you, Michael, tomorrow,
Yeah.
you're going to be completely satisfied with your life, so much so that you don't even feel the need to take action any longer.
Yeah.
That's dangerous.
That would be dangerous.
And that can happen to a man like you, very successful, money,
Terribly handsome.
time, stunningly handsome, devilishly, and instead, man, It is a dangerous place to be.